The village of Sundari sat in a dry, cracked valley where the soil had turned pale and the trees had long since given up. The well at its center ran low every summer. The fields yielded less each year. Old people shook their heads and said the land had forgotten how to live. Into this village, on a warm afternoon in spring, walked a 10-year-old girl named Sara, carrying a small cloth bag over her shoulder. She had been given 10 seeds by her grandmother, just 10, nothing more. "Plant one today," her grandmother had said. "Tomorrow, plant another." And so on, every day, for as long as you have breath. Sara planted her first seed at the edge of the village. She watered it with water from her own cup. She loosened the soil around it with her small fingers. She came back the next morning to check on it. Adults saw her and smiled, the way adults smile at children doing something endearingly pointless. "You cannot green a desert with 10 seeds, her uncle said, not unkindly. "That is not how it works." But Sara had only 10 seeds from her grandmother. When those were gone, she collected seeds from whatever she could find, seeds from wild grasses, from the dried pods of forgotten plants at the valley's edge, from fruits she ate. She planted one every single day. People continued to laugh. "1 tree a day," a neighbor said. "You'll grow old before it makes a difference." Sara planted on. The first year, 3 seedlings died and 7 survived. The second year, a dozen small trees cast patches of thin shade across the village paths. By the third year, something began to shift. The shade from the young trees slowed the evaporation of water from the soil beneath them. The roots began to hold the earth together. Birds came, drawn by the shade. They brought seeds in their droppings. More plants grew without anyone planting them. By the time Sara was 15, there was a small grove where the village edge met the valley floor. By 18, the grove had grown long enough that morning mist sometimes settled over it, and the air in its vicinity smelled different, cooler, greener, alive. By 20, the village of Sundari was surrounded by a modest but real forest. Rain came back. Not in dramatic floods, but gradually, the way things return when the conditions are right. Birds nested everywhere. A small stream that had been dry for 40 years began running again, fed by the moisture the trees were holding in the earth. Crops grew better. Children played in shade where their parents had squinted in bare sun. The same adults who had laughed at Sara now sat in the shade of trees she had planted. They said nothing about the laughter. But more than one of them, in quiet moments, felt something they could not quite name, a mixture of wonder and gratitude, and perhaps a little shame. A journalist who visited the village asked Sara how she had done it. She looked at the forest around her and thought for a moment. "I just planted 1 tree every day," she said. "I did not think about the forest. I only thought about today's tree." Moral: small actions, done consistently and without waiting for applause, can transform the world. You do not need to see the forest. You only need to plant today's tree. Deciduous tree.